Have you ever wondered why, even though you're always kind, polite, and helpful, people still don't really seem to respect you? I've heard that question hundreds of times in my therapy room, from devoted mothers, hardworking employees, and loyal friends. They all believe that kindness earns respect. But sadly, psychology says otherwise. I want you to imagine this. Every time you apologize for a small request or agree to help even when you're exhausted, you're quietly sending the message: my value is lower than yours. And people, even unconsciously, respond to that message. Over more than a decade of working with clients and leaders across the US, I've discovered 8 kind behaviors that seem harmless, but actually make people respect you less. They're psychological traps that make you likable, but not respected. And in this video, I'll show you how to recognize them and how to stay kind without losing yourself. 1. Always available, dropping everything to help others. Have you noticed that you're always the first to reply, always ready to help anyone, anytime, even when you're drained? I once worked with a patient named Sarah, a devoted woman who didn't know how to say no. She believed her constant availability showed kindness. But in truth, she was teaching people that her time and energy had little value. Think about it. When something is always available and requires no waiting, do you treasure it? Psychology calls this the scarcity principle. We value what's limited. A 2021 Stanford study found that people who always appear free are seen as less competent and nearly 50% more likely to be taken advantage of. Here's the truth. Being overly kind can make you lose yourself. Remember, having boundaries doesn't make you less kind. It makes your kindness valuable. Saying, "I can help this afternoon," isn't rejection. It's saying, "My time matters too." 2. Feeling other people's emotions too deeply. Emotional over-identification. Do you ever feel exhausted just because someone else is upset? You see someone anxious, and your chest tightens as if their stress were your own? I worked with a man named Michael, the kind of person who just couldn't stand to disappoint anyone. His deep empathy drained him. He wasn't just carrying his own burdens. He was carrying everyone else's too. Psychologists call this over-identification. When you merge your emotions with someone else's and lose your boundaries. When that happens, others start seeing you as overly sensitive or fragile, and their respect for your emotions can fade. Here's a thought. Empathy doesn't mean suffering with someone. You can understand another person's pain without absorbing it. True kindness isn't about carrying someone's weight. It's about staying strong enough to hold their hand when they need you. 3. Apologizing. Too much for normal requests. How many times a day do you say, "Sorry"? "Sorry to bother you." "Sorry, can I ask a question?" "Sorry, but..." It sounds polite. But every time you say it, you're telling others, "My needs are a burden." I once had a client named Laura, smart, dedicated, but she began every work email with an apology. She thought it showed respect. Instead, her co-workers began responding slower, and her ideas carried less weight. In psychology, we call this self-diminishing communication, signaling that you don't deserve attention or space. Try switching one small thing. Instead of saying, "Sorry for bothering you," say, "Thanks for taking the time." That one change transforms your energy, from apology to appreciation. And when you respect yourself, the world follows. 4. Helping without being asked. Unsolicited help. Picture this. You see a co-worker struggling with a report, and you jump in. "Let me help you." Sounds kind, right? But in group psychology, that can actually feel like a status threat, as if you're implying they're not capable. I once coached a young doctor named Emily who always offered to help before anyone asked. She thought she was being supportive, but her colleagues started feeling watched or judged. Eventually, they distanced themselves from her. Kindness without sensitivity can backfire. Sometimes people don't need help. They need trust. Before stepping in, Just ask, "Would you like some help with that?" A small question, but it shows respect. That's true kindness, helping without taking away someone's dignity. 5. Downplaying your achievements. Achievement minimization. Has anyone ever complimented you and your reflex was to say, "Oh, it's nothing," or "I just got lucky"? That may sound humble, but you're actually rejecting their recognition and minimizing your own worth. One of my clients, Mark, a talented engineer, was praised by his boss for a successful project. He quickly said, "It was nothing. The team did everything." He meant to sound modest, but guess what? His boss credited the success to others. In American culture, accepting praise gracefully isn't arrogance. It's emotional maturity. Saying, "Thank you, I worked hard on that," isn't bragging. It's self-respect. Acknowledging your value doesn't make you less kind. It helps others see why you deserve respect. 6. Tolerating bad treatment to keep the peace. Conflict avoidance. Have you ever stayed silent when someone hurt you because you didn't want to make a scene? You thought you were being mature, keeping things peaceful. But each time you stay silent, you're saying, "My feelings don't matter." Karen, a client of mine, was a respected manager. But every time she got interrupted in meetings, she just smiled and let it go. 6 months later, people no longer let her finish a sentence. No one was intentionally disrespectful. They had just learned from her silence that it was okay to ignore her. Psychologists call this self-erasure, erasing yourself from the conversation to keep temporary peace. But that peace comes at a steep cost: your voice. Speaking up doesn't mean starting a fight. You can be calm and firm. Try saying, "I'd like to finish my thought." A small sentence, but it says loud and clear, "I matter." 7. Speaking up too late. Delayed self-assertion. Have you ever left a conversation thinking, "I should have said something"? You stay quiet in the moment, then replay it in your head for hours. That's what I call passive kindness. Choosing silence to avoid conflict, even when it hurts you. David, a client of mine, often left meetings feeling frustrated. When co-workers spoke harshly, he said nothing, then spent the night venting to his wife and losing sleep. He wasn't weak. He just hadn't learned to respond in the moment. That's the key. Real-time response. You don't have to yell. A calm, firm statement like, "I'm not comfortable with that comment," protects your dignity and teaches others how to treat you. And the best part? Next time, they'll remember. 8. Saying yes too easily. Compulsive agreement. Have you ever said yes while every part of you screamed no? Maybe when your boss asked for another project or a friend invited you somewhere you didn't want to go. You smiled and agreed, just to avoid disappointing anyone. But the more you please others, the more you hurt yourself. Olivia, one of my patients, was loved by everyone. Always reliable, always agreeable. But behind her smile was exhaustion. She once told me, "I'm afraid to say no. People will think I'm selfish." But here's the truth. When you never say no, you teach others that your comfort doesn't matter. And soon, they'll believe it. Saying no isn't rude. It's healthy. Try soft rejections. "Not this time, but maybe later." Or, "No, but I really support your idea." Those phrases keep kindness intact while reinforcing your boundaries. Kindness should come from choice, not fear. When you say yes, it should come from freedom, not obligation.